Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video and the final normal battle stage of Tempest Heroes Jubilee, technically number 2, but I don't think they put a number on it. But we're going against a dark enemy which wants you to use a light team, which there are plenty of those. But if this is your first time watching a Jubilee video and you don't know what the hell this is, I put out a video yesterday that'll be linked in the not comments, but in the video description, explaining what Jubilee is as a whole and why you should do it. But after you watch that, come back to this, and I will give you some disclaimers about this, because there are a few. Disclaimer number 1 is that your results may vary. You are not going to have the same teams and the same units and the same dupes and the same gear that I have, so use this as a generic guide and as a building block to what you have available in your box. I don't know what that is, I don't have access to it, I can't see it, so you're going to have to use your team building brain or ask for some advice and figure out what's going to work best for you for this stage. Disclaimer number 2, is that these are the units I use for protection gauge, and these are the units I use for skill points. You will see them across the game. And disclaimer number 3 is please don't forget to go into your town of Tempest and optimize your light magic building, so your light nuker can do as much damage as possible. But with that said, let's jump in. Alright, so for normal battle 3, it is a single target nuke. You want to use light teams, and the thing's got fairly decent HP, 400,000, so you're going to have to nuke that down. Doesn't have very high attack or defense, but does have physical resistance, does give himself attack and defense, and he does start stacking his attack. So if you want to max score this, you're going to have to find a way to negate this attack buff, so you're only taking 1 damage every single time he hits you, while still doing 1.4 million damage and killing him who has 400,000 HP. So it might be a tall ask for people that don't have a really good light team right now. Thankfully, the Antagonist meta is light focused, technically, so you can use that. We'll use it in this video, but we're going to start off with my max score team, which looks like this. New Year's Blessing, mostly. Xion and Rimuru. Rimuru's the nuker, he's got weakness, strike, and attack buff. We've got the hero for the rewind, which we're going to need. We've brought skill-fused Water Soe to give us extra defense and lower the centipede's attack. This will prevent him from doing more damage than necessary. And then instead of Milim, we've brought Tempest Elite Benimaru, because his buff is stronger than Milim's. 50% physical, 25% alt resistance down is not something this team has access to right now. And then Shinsha has the alt damage and crit damage for physical allies, which we are crit and we need the alt. So this works out very well. Milim I did try and use. She doesn't do quite enough damage support for Rimuru though, which is the reason why I swapped her out. So this run does not take very long. 3 turns, rewind. I was in the zone for this. So turn 1, we've got 36 points because we're using Water Soe up front. He's giving us those free 6 points. So we'll just use the defense skill here and leave the team as is, and hopefully you take 1 damage, he doesn't pierce you or anything. But we've lowered his attack, we still have extra defense. We'll now use the rewind and the rainbow orbs here, which unfortunately does not give us everything. A perfect turn would give you a full 6-hand send, but unfortunately it did not favor us as much. So we're going to bank on the rewind, giving us a decent enough hand of rainbow or of orange orbs for Rimuru, which it does. And now that we've used the rainbows on the last turn, we can do Xion here, change the entire hand to oranges. We can use the attack buff from Rimuru because it lasts for 2 turns, and we could take down his HP by quite a bit. He's doing 53k a hit, means that his 400k HP is very quickly melting down. And we now have enough points to use the other buffs. We don't need that much. We're not going to use the hero buff for the crit and anything. We're only going to use Benimaru's buff and Shinsha's buff, and we've kept him debuffed for the first 2 turns, and he's not going to hit us again because he's going to be dead. So we'll use the 2 major buffs. Rimuru's buff is still active from the last turn, and we'll use Xion to give him guaranteed crit, guaranteed synergy, and then we'll send the alt, and he does 1.6 million. I think I have a light attack charm on Xion right now to just help us do a little bit extra damage to make sure. But yeah, we didn't need it. He did 2 hits against us, and we did 1.9 million total damage because it includes his actual HP bar. So there's my max score team. Is not very difficult to do. Does need some units though for it, as most max score teams do. But it's very easy to do. Alright, so the new antagonist team, Shinsha, Emils, the new awakened Isis, and then we've brought EX Rain, the masked hero for the rewind, and free-to-play Light Mirin to take care of our turn 1 convert for the 2 greens to 2, or yeah, 2 greens to 2 oranges. So we're going to bank on that. It's not hard to run this team. The amount of power that Isis is giving on her debuff skill is really, really big if you're within the first 5 turns, which we're going to be 3 turns here. Alright, so turn 1, we're going to change those 2 greens to 2 oranges. You don't have to use Mirin, she's just a free-to-play character that you can get out of the flashback shop. If you have someone else who can do it, or you're going to do something else entirely, then that's cool. But this will give us a lot of alt gauge. That's cool. We'll take out Mirin and the hero for Isis and Shinsha. We'll send these orbs. We're not doing that much damage to him right now, but it will start to ramp up once we start activating some of the buffs. Rain, because of her trait, she just gets her ult, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. But we can see that we have another Shinsha orb incoming, which actually works out. So we're just going to take Rain out of here and use the rewind ability. And then that gives us 4 Shinsha orbs, which is going to get her EX ult right here. So that's really cool. Not too much RNG. You can get bad hands where you get no Shinsha orbs at all. I've had that happen a couple times in this run, but thankfully this one worked out. Alright, Pierce right there. Excellent. The rewind kicks in. He's now at half HP. We've got the EX ult for Shinsha. And now this turn, like, really, it doesn't matter what we do here. I mean, we could lower his HP down by doing this. You could just leave it if you were too afraid or something, or anything else that happens. But we're going to lower his HP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we've got 150 points, plus the extra 30 we're going to get from Emils. We have access to 2 EX ults, but I'm not going to ult with Cleash, or Isis, sorry. So, not really an important thing there. We'll take the hero out. We're not going to use the crit buff. We don't have points for that. We're going to use the Drago, the magic buff, the other Isis buff, and then the ult buff and pierce resistance down skill from Shinsha. And this will be enough damage to hit that 1.4 million range. And we're going to send 1 extra orb, 61k, and we do 1.5 million right there, without the guaranteed crits and everything from the hero. So that's a lot of power in 3 turns. Not too much RNG, but it does work out. We did take damage because we didn't bring a defensive character. Not a big deal. We lost 274 points. Oh no. Alright, we're... Goddess of Destiny is not a great team, but we're going to use it anyways. Mirin is doing the follow-up orbs, which normally don't matter too much, but because the Centipede has 400,000 HP, we do need to drop him down a bit, and these orbs will help us. We're going to nuke with Bride Shuna, who's got a light buff and a personal crit damage buff. We've brought the Light Masked Hero for the ult swap and the resistances down. We've once again brought free-to-play Mirin for the convert. Light Milim for the attack buff, and then Rain for the magic buff. If you don't have Milim and you have Sokka, you could use that as well. Certainly, she would be cheaper, actually, as well, and we'd probably get the full damage buff, which I think would match what Milim is doing. But I wanted to use an older character, not another EX character on this team. So, turn 1, again, this is why we brought Mirin, to convert the hand. We're gonna do this and not try and fish for a triple Shuna on turn 2. If we do get a triple Shuna, it's great and everything, but oranges are gonna get us a lot of alt gauge anyways, so we don't need to do that much here. But we're gonna take these 2 out. For these 2, they have extra protection gauge traits underneath them as support slots. It is enough to get us exactly 1 Mirin right there. And here, we are gonna fish. Ideally, you would want 6 orbs to steal. So, alright, thanks for the hit. we're taking damage because we don't have a defense character. She gets an ult, which, I mean, is fine. But we do have 2 orbs and an ult for Shuna. So, let's use the green buff from Rain, send her away, bring in the Masked Hero, use the free ult swap to make it so we have 3 orbs, and then we can steal into 6. And here's where we got the orb stealing, not turn 1. We'll use Mirren. It'll give all orbs an extra 100% skill point increase, and it'll get us the EX ult, and it'll give us the follow-up orbs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the follow-ups will take his health down even more. It's actually kind of good that he guarded that last hit, because I think we actually might have killed him if he hadn't guarded a few of those. But we have the EX ult. His health is very, very low. We don't have access to Mirren, but her crit and everything is still active. So we're going to use the element resistance down buff, the attack buff from Milim, and then the light and crit damage buff from Shuna herself. And we have just enough points left over to use the magic buff from Rain. And then we'll send her ult, and she does 636. Plus the 400,000 that we've already taken off from his HP bar. And we've done decent damage. Like, we did almost 1 million right there for a really, really old team. Like, Goddess of Destiny is not a super great team, but doing almost 1 million right there, I think, is reasonable for them at this point. And the final team I have for you for normal battle is it's a sad team because there's no EX units, but Light 3.0 still can put up decent numbers for being such an old team. So we've got Light Shuna stacking Pierce Power and Stun Strike. Raphael is going to be our nuker. Light Soka, Orb Change. Light Mirren, again for her Orb Change for turn 1. Light Lumi for her Orb Change and the Light buff. And then Water Shuna for her Orb Change and her ult buff. Lumi is not skill fused in any way, so we're not going to get an extra 20% light attack. Her Orb Change is only 2 orbs. Raphael is skill fused, but that doesn't really do much for his actual damage because it's just giving the Stun Strike to everybody else. And we're going to stack. So we're not going to kill in 3 turns here. We're going to go to turn 5, I think, and do okay damage, but it's certainly not the best team in the world. Turn 1, Mirror and Orb Change. It's been the same that we've done for the past 3 clips, so if you have someone else to do it, great. If not, she's available in the flashback shop. We'll bring Lumi in. We'll bring Shuna in. Lumi's got protection gauge for her and her support on turn 2. Shuna has support underneath her for protection gauge, and she herself gives extra skill points on turn 2, which is nice. So, turn 2 rolls around, and we're looking for a convertible hand, which we do have right here. We can use both the Shuna convert and the Lumi convert, and we can get a full hand of blues that will have 100 extra skill points, which isn't a lot, but we do have 4 orbs for Raphael, which is good. So we'll bring these 2 characters back in. Don't ask me why I did that. Oh, because I don't want alt gauge for them. That's why. Because we sent a full hand of oranges turn 1, and I don't have an alt swapping character. So I want to make sure that only Raphael gets an alt, and he's not an alt EX character, so we only need 1 gauge for him. So that's good. So now we can put a stack on him, we could send him away, and then we could start giving ults to one of the other backline characters. So it's going to be Lumi. We don't need to bring Shuna up front at all, because we can just do the special convert for Soka, and then Lumi's convert, another full hand of blues. This will get Lumi's ult, which is unfortunate, but we get kind of lucky next turn. I can't promise you that everyone is going to be as lucky as this. But we don't have any orbs for Mirren, so except for that 1 incoming. So what we can do here, and what I think about, is bringing Raphael in for Mirren, who doesn't have an orb, so we don't have to bring in the ult. And we're going to orb change with Lumi first, after stacking with Raphael, with Shuna. And we're going to use Lumi's convert, because it's going to hit that green orb. And then we're going to send her away for Shuna. And then that'll bring her in. It will somehow not give us the Raphael ult, which is incredible. That's the first time I had seen that, I think, where we just don't get it, even though he gets an orb coming. But we do have enough points to full convert. We get 282 points here, and we have enough to now full buff ourselves and nuke on turn 5. So both skills for Raphael are 55 points. The Shuna buff is 55. The light buff from Lumi is 80. And it gets awakened at turn 8, but the only thing that it does is lower the stun resistance of an enemy, where he can be stunned regardless. So we don't really need to worry about that. So buff, buff, and buff. So this is Pierce, this is the stun, this is the stun strike, alt resistance down. And then we don't need to bring Mirren in. Now, we can send a few orbs here. We're not going to send the Lumi ult because she's going to be too powerful, but we can send one orb and Shuna because she's not very strong. And now Raphael does 502,000 damage, which is it's close to what we did with the Bridal team, but not super great. 698,000 damage right there. Our turn bonus has gone down by quite a bit, so we're 72,000. It's a sad 5-star team with no EX characters to speak of that are really buffing us up, but it's accessible because it's so old. So if you don't have any of the new EX light characters, maybe you have some of the old light characters, and you can still get a score using this stacking team. But that's only 4 teams that I have used. If you have any others that you found that work, please put it down in the comments below so people can take a look at that and maybe get an idea using your team. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I will see you all later.